This is the day 2 instructional video in section 13.2, in which we're going to talk about the two exponent properties, product to a power and quotient to a power. Before you go any further in this instructional video, make sure you have a pencil, your notebook, a calculator if you think you're going to need it, and it will be most helpful if you're watching this instructional video with a partner. At a few points during this video, you're going to have to stop, pause, and discuss with a partner before returning to the instructional video. Make sure you've got those resources out and handy and available before you continue. Let's do a quick review of the 13.1 instructional video. All right, one of the properties we talked about in section 13. Well, actually it was the 13.2 day 1 instructional video was this property. And this property is the power to a power rule, and we're going to use this property to really help us dig deeper with the two properties that we're going to learn about today. So in this instructional video, we're going to take d cubed and we're going to square it. So if you remember from our video yesterday, really what we're going to do is we're going to take d cubed and multiply it by itself 2 times. So I could write it like this: d cubed times itself, d cubed. So I'm taking d cubed and multiplying it by itself twice. Now, using the product rule that we learned about yesterday, when we're multiplying with exponents, we actually add the exponents. We don't multiply them. So when I'm multiplying d cubed times d cubed, that's going to really give me d to the power of 6. And one of the things that we talked about, or a shortcut that we talked about in the last video, is when you're doing a power to a power, a shortcut is just to multiply these two exponents. So you can skip all that work in the middle. So d cubed squared is d to the power of 6. That will be the basis of a lot of the math that we're going to discuss in this video. Take a moment to jot down in your notebook product to a power, and then jot down these two examples. Press pause in the instructional video so you have enough time to get that down accurately in your notebook. Okay, when you're looking at problem 1, for example, what I want you guys to think about and realize is this is a product. It's a product because I'm multiplying 3 things. -3 times x to the 5th times y. So it's a product to the power of 2. So we're not trying to be tricky when we name these rules of exponents, but sometimes it makes sense if you take a moment just to dissect what the name means. So we've got a product and multiplying to a power. That's why we call it the product to a power. Now, what we need to think about this as I'm squaring everything in here. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to have you write down extra work for the first example, and then hopefully after that, it'll make sense and you won't need to do that. What I want you guys to think about and realize is that I'm squaring everything inside the parentheses. So I'm going to write down -3 squared times x to the 5th squared times y squared. And what I'm going to need to do now is simplify these 3 terms. So to do that, I take -3 squared. So -3 times -3. Negative times negative is positive. So that's going to give me a positive 9. Let's see here. We learned that x to the 5th squared, that is a power to a power. When I'm doing a power to a power, I multiply my exponents. So that's going to give me x to the power of 10. And then y is just hanging out over here. I'm not actually doing too much with it because there wasn't more than one exponent. So I'm just going to bring y squared down. So my final answer is this: 9x to the 10th, y to the 2nd power. This work that I showed in the middle is the work that I want you to see and understand in your head, but it's not necessarily work that we're going to require to see on your paper when we're checking your exponential work here. Okay, so let's look at the next example. The next example, let's see here, is 5m cubed n to the 5th p that product to the power of 3. So when I'm doing this, I can take 5 to the power of 3, and that's going to give me 125. M to the third, so m to the power of 3 cubed. When I'm doing a power to a power, I multiply my exponents. So that's going to give me m to the power of 9. Now I need to do n to the 5th to the power of 3. So again, when I'm raising a power to a power, I multiply. So it's going to give me n to the power of 15. And this right here is like p to the power of 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. So p to the power of 3. So here is my answer for the second one. So I'm taking each individual term or piece and I'm raising it to the power that's outside the parentheses using the rules of exponents that we learned about in the last instructional video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, pause the instructional video. Discuss with a partner how to use the product to a power rule. And just like we did yesterday in your notebook, write down how to use the product to a power rule in your own words, making sure you're including details such as what do you do with the coefficients and how are you calculating the exponents of the variables. Press pause and complete your work in your notebook now. Back in your notebook, I want you to jot down quotient to a power and take a minute to write down these 2 examples. Press pause on the instructional video so you have enough time to complete that task. Okay, now quotient to a power. Quotient means divide. So I'm taking a division problem like this and I'm raising it to a power. So what I need to do when I'm dividing or taking a quotient to a power is everything inside my parentheses or everything inside my quotient needs to be raised to the power of 2. So for my first example, I'm going to write down probably a little bit more work than you're going to need or is going to be required of you when you're completing your work. But I'm going to write down 3 squared in my numerator because I'm taking 3 to the power of 2. Now I have to look at my denominator. I'm going to take m to the 5th to the power of 2. So when I'm doing a power to a power, I multiply my exponents. So m, I have to multiply 5 times 2 to get 10. Now I'm going to look at my fraction here. If there's anything I can simplify, I'm going to simplify. And so hopefully you see that I can simplify 3 squared. So 3 times 3 is 9 over m to the power of 10. So my final answer is that. I need to have it written as a fraction if it is. I'm going to make sure that I can simplify my coefficients if I have them. And this work that I've done in the middle isn't necessarily required on your homework. But I just wanted you to see where I got the 9 from and this 10. All right, I'm going to go ahead and complete problem 2, making sure to take x to the power of 6 to the 4th power. So again, when I'm doing a power to a power, I multiply. So I'm going to get x to the power of 24 over y to the 9th to the power of 4. So I multiply, and I'm going to get y to the power of 36. There's nothing I can simplify here because I don't have any coefficients. So my final answer is x to the 24th over y to the 36th. Take a moment to pause the instructional video, discuss with a partner how to use a quotient to a power rule, and in your notebook, write how to use a quotient to a power rule in your own words. And again, just like we've done several times before, make sure in your description of what you're writing down, you're talking about how to calculate the coefficient and the exponents of the variables in your examples. So pause the video now, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've made it to the end of the instructional video. Here are 4 practice problems I'd like you to complete in your notebook. Show your teacher your work. I'd like you to complete the work by yourself. Check in with your teacher. Ask your teacher any questions if you have any. And if you get all 4 questions right, you will earn your homework for the day. Good luck.